to catch it on the record, they can. So welcome. Today is session 10. So we are there. We've gone through 10 weeks, and it looks like, those that were really dedicated are here. Tom, Mike, Paul, you're here. And so I'm so glad you're here, and you've gone through at least most of these with me, or all 10. I know it's a huge commitment. 10 hours of your time is valuable, and I certainly appreciate it. And I know Paul and Mike appreciate it, Tom, that you're here and moving forward, with your business. So what Tom Ferry has tried to do over the last 10 weeks, the way he explains it is he's tried to chart a course for all of us. He's laid out on the table, charting the course like a navigator would do. Anybody, the fact is anybody can steer a ship. Anyone can do that. But it takes a special person on a crew to be able to navigate. And in this case, it's navigating your business, maybe the start of your business, and maybe to some of those who've been in business, maybe to reconstitute a new navigation path in a new direction. So what a navigator does, as Tom Ferry explains, is number one, they draw from experience. They know what they're doing because they've had a lot of experience, and they take everything that they've learned to put it into place to get from point A to point B. Secondly, navigators, they examine the conditions. They look at, in this case, timing, financial matters, the weather. They look at everything in order to get us to where they're going. Number three, they gather information by listening to others. And throughout this, we have been listening to others. We've even listened to amongst ourselves to become better at what we're doing. And number four, they move forward based on faith. And I believe there's a lot of faith, whatever you believe faith is, in business and fact. So for the last 10 weeks, I think we've been pretty much immersed in faith and fact, and giving you a direction to go to navigate. And so today we're going to be talking about, if you look at the class notes, the booklet, we're going to be looking at discovering your breakthroughs. Number two, creating a new business plan. Number three, maintaining your elite performance. And maybe most importantly, the 5 phases of mastery. And we'll look at the 5 phases of mastery yet. What Tom says in these classes is what on week 10, what he's found is really there's 2 kinds of people. There's those people, the first group, that have good intentions. And those are the people that are here. They had good intentions. They continue to have good intentions, but sometimes they fail on themselves. And they always seem to empower excuses for not being successful more than empowering their goals and dreams and ambitions. So that's one group of people. The second group of people, I think, are those like you and I, at least I would hope that are like you and I, and they are the ones that finish. And so you're here at number 10, and you're here to finish this deal. And we're a group that hopefully follows up regardless of excuses. We all have excuses. We all have things in our lives that can come before us and stop us. But what makes you special is that you're here today. And so it's so great to share this with you. So first of all, 10.1, page 128, we're going to be talking about discovering your breakthrough. So first, let's look at the 5 questions on this sheet in discovering your breakthrough. So in the course, during the course, if we were doing this course live, what I have done and what I would do is say, okay, everyone, let's take 10 minutes, and I want you to write down the 5 questions, answer the 5 questions that we have. In this case, because we're trying to do this in under an hour of time, but I'm hoping you do the exercise. Number 1 is, what are you most proud of in having done this 10-week course? What are you most proud of? For some of you, for a couple of you, it's because you were here every week. You made it a priority to be here because you want to learn. So what are you most proud of? And I think it's about taking a broad stroke. You might want to, put them down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, but a broad stroke. What are you most proud of having done this 10-week class? Number 2, what new skills have you learned? What new skills have you added to your toolbox? Now, I'm just going to mention a few, and we've covered this over the last 10 weeks, but I just want to remind you of some of the things we've talked about. And if you go back to your 10 weeks of all these booklets, and you can see how much I've printed here of all the booklets that I have and I've written in, here's some of the things you're going to find that we've talked about. And I want you to write these down on your own time. You don't have to do it right now. But we've talked about your goals. We've talked about the importance of your hour of power every single day. Being at level 10, when you come into the office or when you start your workday, wherever you are, you're at level 10 and you're ready to move forward with a positive attitude. We've talked about your unique selling and buyer's proposition. Remember, we just talked about that last week. We've talked about the mega open house, coffee meetings, sweat equity, your geographical farm, setting your financial goals, your business plan, your listing presentation, your buyer's presentation, your yikes campaign. And boy, do we need a yikes campaign to get listings. We definitely need to put something in place. We talked about texting to your sphere of influence and to your client base. We've talked about getting organized, improving your presentations, using proven system, adding more sources to reach the people that you need to, and more. That's a lot of stuff that we've covered in just 10 weeks, but hopefully it's a navigation to where you need to be and what you choose to do. The third question is, what new disciplines have you taken on? Are there particular things, maybe the things that I've just named, or other things within Tom Ferry's training that are new disciplines for you? They might be writing down your goals on a daily basis, or just writing down your goals for the year in advance or for the next 12 weeks. Maybe it's about the gratitudes that you write every day that Tom Ferry believes is so important. And a number of coaches that I subscribe to talk about gratitudes and affirmations. We've talked about and repeated the affirmation platform that our founder has for us in prompter.ca, where you can write down your affirmations. I've even provided you, if you cared to download it, the 10-10-10 visual 30-day visualization plan, where you can write your 30 days, your goals, you can write down your gratitudes, and you can write down your affirmations. Number 4, what lessons have you learned along the way? So we've talked about things that you could do, knowing how to do it, how to become better at what you do, and working and learning systems. That's what we've talked about. Number 5, what results have you produced while taking this course? Now, to some people, we know that there's been very few results. For others, the hope was, and the plan with Tom Ferry's training, and what his goal is, remember, was to get you 3 new transactions in 10 weeks, to get you on the road to have 3 people that you've either closed in that 10 weeks or have in your pipeline. Maybe you've reached that goal, but maybe you haven't as well. You can't stop here. So what kind of results have you produced? Or maybe importantly, on number 5, write down the results you've got to produce, that you've got to see through. Let's go to the next page. And on the next page, Tom talks about creating your business plan. Let me do this. I guess I didn't even pull up the screen. Let me pull up the share. I apologize for that. Okay, creating your new business plan. So now is the time to start planning for your 3-month goal or your 1-year goal. You decide, set up your goals now. So creating the business plan is first. and don't continue doing what you've been doing. I mean, it's insanity to repeat what hasn't worked before, right? It's just crazy. So don't continue doing what you've done before. And today, what Tom has asked is that you spend, after we're done today, 2 hours to work on your business. Because as he says at the very bottom of the page, by failing to plan, you're planning to fail. So first of all, examine the 7 areas of your business plan. Number 1 is, where does your business come from? Number 2, where your business can grow. What can you do to grow your business? I just read off about 20 things that you can do to help grow your business. Number 3, break down the numbers, know your numbers. And in this packet that I've downloaded to our Facebook page, there are a number of additional pages. There are additional pages for business plan mastery, and there's transaction results, there's your vision statement, there's new prospects list, the systems marketing calendar, a progress chart, a daily action checklist, business expenses, personal expenses. It's all here, everyone. It's been all here all along. It's been here so you can grow your business. So number 3, breaking down the numbers. Know your numbers. Number 4, your marketing plan. What is your marketing plan? Number 5, your daily action checklist. One of the biggest failures that I have found in working with agents is they don't have a daily action checklist. They don't have a plan for the day. If they do go into the office, they generally go to the water cooler first and start talking and having fun, but they don't have a daily action checklist. You know, communication and camaraderie is huge. It's hugely important, but a daily action checklist. For me, I put down 3 things every day that I have to accomplish. Just 3 things. Sometimes I'm done with them before noon, at 10 or 11 o'clock. But I know the 3 things, the 3 actions that I have to do for the day. This is one of those actions for today. Another action I have is I'm meeting with somebody at 4:30 today that's interested in coming to the real estate business. I have that plan marked down. Okay, so I've got a daily checklist. Number 6, your business numbers. So many agents fail at knowing their numbers. So they really can't plan their business. They can't plan their marketing, their advertising, the things that they're going to do, the conferences they're going to attend, because they don't know their business numbers and they don't know their personal numbers to know if it's in the budget of their personal numbers at home. So let's talk about the 5 tips next on this sheet to make the planning process precise. To do the 2-hour planning, have all your numbers ready. Okay, so gather all those numbers. Number 2, decide how much business you can get from existing sources and then add to it. Remember, I talked to all of you about getting your top 100, looking at your sphere of influence. Those are existing sources. So how much business can you get from them? How many of them will work with you? How many of them will refer for you? Number 3, get things up visually where you can see them. While I've kept this office that Paul has provided me pretty clean, my office in Bend was maybe for many a disaster area, but I had everything up visually that I needed to have up. It was there for me. Okay. Number 4, finish your marketing plan. Number 5, share your plan with people who will make you think. I think, Tom, you're working a little bit with Kim with 2 M's. Am I right?
You are.
Yeah. So I think the 2 of you, not to pick on you, but I know the 2 of you are working together and trying to make each other better. And how wonderful would it be, you know, to continue that relationship, because you're learning from each other, you're building on the energy that both of you have. And when you share your plan with people who will make you think, it'll make you better at what you do. Just like if you share your plan with an accountability partner, it's so important. So share your plan with people who will make you think like you're doing. I commend you for that. I'm so glad you're doing it. If you don't have a partner, find a partner. And then there's the last thing is you see date and time and a blank. On blank, I will create my new plan. Okay, everybody, it's up to you. It's even the screen I have up here in my picture. It's up to you today. On whatever date, you're going to spend 2, maybe 3, maybe 5 hours, and you're going to create a new plan. One of the things that worked for me that I might recommend for you is I took time away from everybody and everything and all distractions. And for me, when I was in Bend, I went an hour away to a cabin on one of the 3 mountains called the Sisters Mountains. I rented a cabin for the weekend and I went there just to think. I went there to create my plan. It doesn't have to be to a mountaintop. It can be anywhere. And I encourage you to do that. Just yourself. Maybe you and your accountability partner to go somewhere that's quiet with no distractions and work on your plan. And again, on the bottom of the page, Tom says, by failing to plan, you are planning to fail. So let's talk about maintaining your elite performance. And this is what Tom Ferry has found in his 2 decades in the coaching business. And pretty much I'm agreeable to the 3 decades that I've been in the real estate business in a much less capacity, if you will, than Tom Ferry. But here's 6 ways to maintain your level of performance. Once you reach it, how do you maintain it? That's the hardest part. That's why agents will be rich and then they're poor. And they're rich and they're poor. And it repeats unless you're able to maintain your new level of performance. So, number 1, make your goals clear. Make them clear and don't shove them aside. Work towards your goals. And if your goals are not the right goals, if you find they're not the right goals for you, find new goals. Find a new direction. Navigate to a new place. 2 is stick to your morning routine. Now, maybe you haven't created a morning routine yet, and this says to operate at a higher level of discipline. But Tom Ferry recommends, as you know, to have a morning routine where you start and you move forward with a regular routine. There's even books written by people who talk about the morning routine. Number 3, be a lifetime learner, okay? Ask yourself, what are you doing every day to learn more about the business, maybe even to learn more about yourself for your own performance? Do you read? Do you listen to audiobooks? Or do you go to conferences to learn more? We certainly don't know it all. Do you keep a fresh approach? And are you progressive with your business? Number 4 is to create accountability for yourself. And you know how to do that. You can partner with other people. You can jump on to a coaching or an accountability coach. There's a number of things that you can do and work with a person who has your back. Someone needs to be at your back. Number 5, constantly upgrade your skills, the technology, and the systems. Because as the market shifts, you need to be able to shift and improve with it. What I've found in my first few months here at Exit Realty Elite is Paul has worked hard, and he's now really committed to do even more work to help upgrade your skills. There's few offices that really have people with the competence of people like Mike and Paul to help you with your skills and your technology. We have Todd to help with technology. And on the bigger front, of course, we have Annette Anthony at Exit and your systems. So work on skills, technology, and systems. And number 6, you've got to be coachable. You've got to be coachable, and you've got to receive guidance that will help you. All right. So from 1 to 5, 5 being the worst, let's say number 1 is the very best. I want you to look at these 6 things, and I want you to grade yourself on where you're at with making your goals clear, with sticking to a morning routine, like Hal Elrod's morning routine, to being a lifetime learner, to creating accountability, to upgrade your skills, technology, and systems. Rate yourself. Where are you at? Are you 1? You're fabulous. Or are you 5? You're really bad at it. The nice thing is, on all of these levels, you can improve and you can be better. All right, let's move to the 5 phases of mastery. And this is what Tom wanted to leave with everyone who went through the 10 weeks. He wants you to look at these 5 phases as you continue in your business and build on mastery of each. Phase 1 is creation. We've done that a lot. This has been all about creation. You set a goal, you become inspired, and you begin to imagine your possibilities. Number 2, you develop a plan. Number 3, you create accountabilities, projects, and promises. Promises to you, promises to others. Number 4, you tell the world what you're committed to. Let me tell you one story on how I told the world. It has nothing to do with real estate. Although I'm pretty fat now, right? I weigh 250 pounds. I probably should weigh about 210 pounds. So I'm about 40 pounds overweight. But at one time, I weighed 315 pounds. And so I was this big blob of fat that was all my fault. I went to the newspaper and I figured the only way that I think I can lose weight is if I have the entire community, and I lived in a community of about 10,000 people, if I had the whole community on my side, reminding me every day that they're on my side. So I went to the publisher. I actually went to the editor of the newspaper called the Owine Daily Register. I went to the editor and I said, I have an idea. And I'm doing this selfishly because I think it can help me. But I think if other people read my story on how a community embraced someone that was in a state where their health was deteriorating, and where everything was going downhill, I think it would be motivating for other people to see a fat guy like me go through this with the support of the community. And they did. And when they did, I lost 60 pounds. I lost 60 pounds in a 6-month period of time. And the community helped me. You guys, we're here to help you. We're here to be the team that helps you lose the 65 pounds, so to speak, to build your business. So tell the world, tell everyone what you're committed to. Don't be scared. Let them help you. Let your spouse, let your friends, your family, other business associates, us, the ones that are here today, the ones that are watching this, tell the world what you're committed to. Number 2 is phase 2 implementation. So this is where you start doing the work, and here we are today. It's time. If you haven't been doing the work, or if you've just been doing a little, it's time to do the work. And Tom Ferry suggests 90-day cycles. There are different theories on this, so I'm not talking down to anybody that believes in shorter cycles or longer cycles. What Tom Ferry teaches, and that's what we're doing, is do it in 90-day cycles, okay? We're in March. Do March, April, May. Write it down, and what are you going to do in the 90-day cycle? I think Tammy Bonnell talks about the 12 weeks that she recommends. planned for 12-week cycles. Next, an organized day and an organized environment are critical to your success. There's no doubt about it. There's absolutely no doubt. If you're wondering how you can do better, it's an organized day, an organized environment, and putting it into place and working towards your success. Mike is in the office today. Mike is in the Grapevine office. He doesn't have to be. He doesn't have to be there, but it's providing him the right environment to work. Tom isn't in an office, but he's in the place that I presume where he can work from in his home. It's stayed constant for the last 10 weeks. It's the place, I believe, where he can work and where he does his best work. And next, you must fall in love with the process. This is a process. You have to find a way to fall in love with it, because if you don't fall in love with the process, you're going to hate the job that you're in. I can promise you that. Phase number 3 is momentum, and so much is based on momentum. Everything starts to really pay off when you start implementing the systems, when you start working towards it, when you build your 12-week plan. Everything starts to pay off. It doesn't happen today. It doesn't happen tomorrow. It may not happen next month, but everything will begin to pay off, and you'll see witness to that. Next, everything begins to speed up. The 3 months will go past quickly because you're working on that plan. You all know that when you've maybe worked other jobs before and you've gone into work, maybe you've worked an assembly line, maybe you've done something else, but when you've worked hard and when you've had to work at something for 8 continuous hours, everything speeds up, and sometimes the day's done before you know it. I can tell you here that I work 5 hours, 5-hour stretches when I come Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, 5-hour stretches and so I work 15 hours a week here, and I work another 10 at least at home. But I know that everything speeds up here. It's going to be, when I generally leave, it's going to be 3 o'clock before I know it, because I've been doing things that makes everything speed up. You're working in flow, and the results begin to feel effortless. So what can take you out of momentum? Getting emotionally attached to a transaction. Oh my God, I'm sure Paul could tell you stories, and Mike could tell you stories. And Tom, I don't think you have any stories to tell you, but there will be times where you will be emotionally attached to a transaction that falls apart, and the world is going to suck at that moment, and everything, you're going to feel like everything is falling apart. I promise it's going to happen to you. It's happened to me, but you have to find your way out of that transaction to do everything you can and move on to the next. Another thing that can take you out of momentum is something happens in your personal life. We've all had it, okay? I had prostate cancer 6 years ago. Did that take me out of my momentum? Hell yes, it took me out of momentum, but I had to find a way to get back in. And I'm not the only one that's had those things. We've all had personal tragedies in our life and personal setbacks. All of us have, either ourselves or with our spouse or somebody that we love. So that can take us out of momentum. Next, phase 4 is stabilization. You're leading your business, and we're not even talking about a team yet, but that might be a desire. You might want to build your own team, but to stabilize things, you want to lead your own business to start with. Communication and accountability are your greatest assets. You've got to have communication and accountability. Next, everyone's working from a daily action checklist, tracking their progress and reporting to their coach or their leader. Okay? Work from your daily action checklist. Depend on those people that are willing to coach you and help you. Next, systems and checklists control the day-to-day business so nothing slips through the cracks. If you have it written down and you follow what you've written down, nothing will slip through the cracks. Next, you become great at delegation and empowering the people around you to support you in the accomplishment of your goals. It just becomes normal. It just becomes normal that when people see you, they're going to know that they can empower you, they can support you, and they can help you accomplish your goals because you're doing the same thing for them. Next, you are spending 1 or 2 hours a week working on your business. This isn't only a Tom Ferry deal. This is a Tammy Bonnell deal, and this is a deal of most coaches that work in the business. It's about working on your business, not only in your business. And number 5, mastery. And when do you get to mastery? And how does it happen? Well, it happens with the business now that you have has a life of its own, and it actually operates. I can tell you, in my company that I had, sometimes I wondered, how is this thing operating? I don't even know how. It just did, because we had a culture where everyone helped one another, and accountability and helpfulness. So your business now has a life of your own. That's when you've reached mastery. And you've started to build a team or your business to remove everything other than meeting clients and working on your business. You're actually working in your business. And next, your role is to list, sell. Don't forget this. This is what we do, is to list, sell, lead, and provide the resources for your team, for others around you to win. And don't forget, we have more than just listing and selling in our company, right? We also have the availability to help others by sponsoring people into our company, something Tom Ferry doesn't have, something that most companies don't have. No one has anything like we have that can provide you the additional income that can help you get to the next step. Tom Ferry ended everything with a quote. And he ended it with a quote that is this: when you walk to the edge of all of the light you have and take the first step into the darkness of the unknown, you must believe that one of 2 things will happen. There will be something solid for you to stand upon, or you will be taught to fly. And so Tom has tried to work with this 10-week course to help you to begin to fly. So lastly, I would say, don't forget the sheets that are attached. I think there's like 8 sheets attached. Again, all of them are to help you build your plan, to work on your goals, and to go the next step. So today has been a pretty short version. We haven't been here for an hour today. We've done our job. We've done our duty. Here are some of the things that are in here, and you can see it. The last thing is for you to look at your business plan mastery and then write down what you commit to, what your personal vision is, what your professional vision is, and the 5 areas to master this year. What are 5 things you want to accomplish this year? What is it that you want to master? Okay, write those things down. Maybe you don't even know. But let's talk about it just a little bit because we have some time. Not to put anyone on the spot, but who has 5 or just one? Name one area that you want to master this year. We've got 9 months remaining, 10 months remaining. We're just in March. What is one of the key areas you want to master this year in your business? Does anybody want to make a comment?
I'll go. Since
Okay.
I'll go. I know there's relatively few of us that are not broker on this phone call today. So I'm spending an awful lot of time. Where I start to just get frustrated is because I'm new, so I realize that. But I spend more time working on my business than in it.
I get it.
But what I've realized here in the last 2-3 weeks, I've got people who now have not one business card in mind, but several. And they're out there talking about what I do, and if they're if they know somebody who's looking to buy or sell, I'm starting to get the word of mouth, at least through other people that they trust in my name. So I want to get over this hurdle of working on it. I spent the morning looking through Metrotext, looking for the MLS maps certification classes and registering for those.
Mhm.
And I think it's next week. I'm going to the courses for the home builder, the new home certification, whatever that is. It's
Yes.
something else that I've picked up on through these core classes to get out and talk to the builders, which never ever did I think, that's somebody you go to build your own home. You don't need a realtor, is what my mindset has always been prior to being a realtor. But I feel better about where I'm headed. So, but basically, to answer the question specifically, again, I need to get away from working on it and working in it more
Okay.
to feel like I'm accomplishing what I want to do.
And Tom, maybe that next step is then to define what it is in your business that you want to do. Now, you've got one. I think working with builders is that one that's kind of hit home for you. You're going to the next step, working on it, so you can work in it, so you can do the things necessary to work with builders and to show that you have value, because you do to them. So you're working on it now to build. Basically, you're writing a thesis, if you will. And your thesis includes what it is that is proof that you are the right person for a builder. That's what you're doing. So you're working on it, but define those areas that you can work in. And as you know, Tom Ferry has given you a bunch of things that you can do in your business. You can work with buyers, you can work with sellers, you can work with first-time home buyers, you can work foreclosure properties, you can work expired properties, you can work for sale by owner. I mean, we're the one business where the menu is so large, so long, that we don't have to do just one thing. So I think you've defined one and you're moving towards it. Now, the one thing I would warn you about, and this is me, not Tom Ferry, for what it's worth, and Paul and Mike might have some thoughts, and maybe even Claire might have some thoughts. I think you just have to, you've just got to do it. You're never going to be ready. You're never going to be ready. You're not going to know everything you need to know. There's no way.
Right.
You've got to put your toe in the water, and you got to keep going until you're freezing your butt off. You've got to do it. And so I would think that would be the next step. Once you have this certification, I'm guessing now you just need to write that thesis and present it so you can graduate. And you can get your MBA, whatever it might be, or your PhD. So that's next. But don't wait till, I think I need to take another course. I think I need to meet with Paul for 6 hours to talk about this, or I need to just do it. And there's people behind you to help you. So thank you for that, Tom. Mike, what do you want to accomplish this year? What do you want to master?
I want to master farming new areas and picking up listings. I've come from an environment where I was very plugged into the community. And when I started real estate, I already had quote unquote connections. And not that it came really easy, but I felt I had more resources as far as like my circle of influence, like my, mortgage and insurance, connections that I had from being in those businesses and being in banking. And so now I'm in a completely new state, new area. And so I'm working on mastering like the getting out there and shaking hands, and what do I need to get involved in so that I can get listings and work certain areas. And like I went and met with Hunter, so we're putting together a plan for me to do some of that in Keller. And then something I had never thought about, I mean, our office was a part of it back in New Mexico, but someone mentioned to me joining the chamber just as myself, and doing that, and I was like, well, I hadn't thought of just going to Keller and joining the Chamber of Commerce and being part of ribbon cuttings and events and meeting other business people in the community. I'm meeting people, but I'm really trying to master that for myself and
Good.
have the confidence to do it. And I think me and Tom are similar in some ways, and I had to get out of this thing when I first got into real estate was I overthink things. And so like he was saying, just getting out and doing it and you make these plans to do it. And then and like you were saying too, oh, maybe I need to do this or maybe I need to do that. And so I start to overthink and overanalyze. And then so I'm not focused and I'm like looking at all these different places when I need to just kind of narrow it in and then just do the task. I used to sit there and now I'm good about it, but I'd sit there and it'd take me forever to do an email because I had to have this like perfect wording on the email. I don't want to sound like an idiot. And I heard something on an audiobook that kind of cracked me up about it, and made me think about how I was. And he said, when you die and they're reading your obituary, I guarantee you no one's obituary says Mike was the most amazing email writer ever. And so I'm learning. I still to this day I'm learning. I've gotten much better about it, but I'm not overthinking things, and I'm just doing it. Even if I fumble over my words or if I trip over myself or if I do look like an idiot, it's I'm doing it, and then the next one's going to be easier. And most of the times when we think we look like feel dumb when we did something or felt like we fumbled over something, we're the only ones that think that because we're the hardest on ourselves. It's that other person doesn't even care and isn't even thinking about it.
Well, so you're a lot like me, Mike, in that, when I moved from Iowa to Oregon, it was just like you moving from New Mexico here. I came from a community where everybody knew me. Everybody knew who I was. So I know that a lot of business came to me because of who I was, and not only who I was, but who my father was, because he was a leader in the community. So I know I got business. I mean, I know deep down my success had a lot to do by the positions I held in the community, and the activities I was in. And so you're in that same boat. You're coming where everybody knew you, and welcome to Texas. No one knows who you are and they really don't give a rip, right? And right? You got to give them a reason.
Exactly.
Yeah, you got to give them a reason to why you're important to their life and the value that you bring to them. Just a story about the chamber, because I think it's important, because I'm a huge believer in the chamber. When I was in Iowa, when I was in my late 30s and 40s, 30 years ago, I was, and I probably said this to some of you, but I just want to talk about this just for a second. When I left the community, I was the president of the Chamber of Commerce. I was the president of the Economic Development Group. I was the president of the Red Cross in the community. I was a city councilman, and I was on a university committee at a local university for entrepreneurial studies. So I got to tell you, most of those weren't because I was like this super important leader. It's because no one else would do them. To be perfectly honest, I seemed to get all of them. I think the reason I got them is because at the time I owned a music store and I had a public address system. And for any meeting people had, they needed a PA system. And so, hell, if we put Maz on the committee, we'll at least get a free PA system whenever we have an event. So that's a little bit humbling because I knew that. But when I went to Bend, part of the reason when I went to Bend, my wife said, okay, if we move from where we're at, you have to promise you're not going to do all this stuff that has taken you away from being home, because you're gone all the time. I missed a lot of my kids' stuff because I was doing all that stuff. Promise you won't do that when we go to Bend. Promise? I said, okay, I promise. I'll just do real estate. We pulled up in the truck and we were waiting for the people to unload our truck and had a few hours of nothing to do. We looked in the house and all that stuff. That was done. And I said to my wife, I think I'm going to just drive down to the local Chamber of Commerce. And she said, oh my God, you're going to do it again. And when I went down, I joined a leadership group and was active in the chamber. The reason I tell you the story is because the chamber can do a lot of things for you, Mike, and for you, Tom, and for you, Clara, all of us. It can really help you. And especially if it's not, especially if you serve on committees, they need bright people because there's not enough around, and the best people are the busiest people. It's always been that way. The best people are the busiest. So if you went to the chamber and you said, I think I have something to give to this community and to the Chamber of Commerce, I would like to join and I'd like to become active right away. I promise you, you will be on a committee before you know it. And when you're on a committee, you're going to be able to make change that you can put in your business because people will see you in a different light. They'll know that you're not taking, you're giving. You're giving back to the community, and you'll meet the people who are usually in the Chamber of Commerce who are the movers and shakers. They're the people that are doing stuff. It's not the people that are sitting in a corner doing something. It's the people that are doing the stuff and meeting the people and networking. So please do that. And if it's not that, get on a board with the local MLS. Get on a local board. I've been there, done that. When I was in Bend, I served on a state committee, with our local MLS, right? So get involved with that. They need leaders. So it's good for your business and it's good for here. It's really good for here. So that's great. I bet you're a little bit scared coming here, right? Because you don't have that guaranteed base of people who know you. And so you're starting over, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it's scarier than heck. It just is. For a young man with a family to just come and do this, it's scary. I don't care how good you are. I think you're probably really good, but it's scary. So great. Hey, Paul, what do you have for this year? Do you have any area of that you want to master this year? Because as qualified and as smart and talented that you are, we all have things that we want to master and improve in. What is it for you this year, Paul?
Yeah, it's a great question and good advice. In this summation was a really good session, Jim. I'm trying to get even more organized and more disciplined and better with my own time management. I'm perpetually studying that, and my personality fights it, just like we all do.
Yeah.
So I've been more focused on block scheduling professionally, and I believe, by the way, I believe that if you don't get time management down, you don't get anything else down. I think you have to do that as a basis for everything. Professionally, I'm getting into a venture involving large apartment deals, so I have some financial knowledge to acquire and some things to catch up on in terms of my understanding of costs and yields and things like that. On a personal level, I'm working on taking my Spanish from conversant to working fluency. And I have a daily and a 90-day plan on that. And then personally, I'm an avid guitarist. I intend in 90 days to master the tremolo and play a piece called Recuerdos de Alhambra, which I play now, but I don't play at professional level. And I'm going to be performing it in 90 days at a ceremony. So I put myself under the gun. And on a physical note, I decided to get back into running. I have a goal to lose about 7 more pounds. And I'm thinking about, I'd like to run maybe a half marathon. I used to run marathons. And so I'm sort of planning through the rest of the year to get back in shape for that. So I try to look at it all quadrants of my life.
Yep.
And I think 90-day goals are incredible milestones, and then keeping track of everything is so important. Tom Ferry's guidelines are great advice. My parting comment though is knowing is not doing. You have to do this stuff.
Yeah, well, that's the truth. And most, I don't know if most, but Tom Ferry says 50% of people who go through this 10 weeks, and they usually go through it because they paid for it. So they attend because they paid for it, right? So it's even more difficult, as you can see, when people don't pay for it, there's sometimes no reason for them to attend, and other things can get in the way. But he talks about, spiritual and physical, all of the things that are important in our business. And it's not just doing the deals. It's just not about the business, but it's kind of what you talked about, Paul, and what you have lined up, how important mastering the guitar is for you, and one particular piece that you want to be able to master. It's about working with your financial goals, and these apartment, they're all part of your plan. And we all have those, as I do, and I won't bore you with mine, but if you don't, you need to write them down, whatever it might be, and help you get to that direction. Writing down affirms what you're thinking in your head if you put it on paper. Affirmation by writing is hugely important. When you write it, you're thinking it, you're writing it, and you see it, it's visual, and it will help you build it. And if you post it somewhere, like one of the things that we worked on is with the book read that we just did, and what McKinnon, what he asked us to do was write down our just cause. So my just cause is kind of like writing down a goal. It's what I want to achieve. So I'll read you my just cause. My just cause is, my goal is to coach, train, and provide leadership that inspires, creates trust, and embraces a positive mindset that changes lives of those around me. That's my goal. I want to help other people because I'm in a position that I can, especially now as I've been doing the last 15 years. So that's my goal. I just want to inspire people any way that I can. I want to make sure that as much as I can, that they trust me, that they know I'm not doing this for the money, because it isn't about the money. I know Paul knows that, Mike knows that. This isn't about the money, but I want to help everyone create a positive mindset for themselves and for their success. So, okay, we're here. We're at the very end, and I will just tell you all, I'll volunteer my time to help anyone that's watching this, even those people, Mike, that are in New Mexico that are watching the replays. These are all put up on YouTube, and I'll help anyone at any time to help them break through, discover their breakthrough, and move on to the next step. So thanks for joining me today, and I'll talk to you all soon. Thanks so much.
Jim,
Yes.
Before you sign off, just a couple things. First of all, on behalf of all of us, thank you for doing this. This has been awesome, and I know it will pay short-term as well as long-term benefits to the individuals that have been involved in it. So again, I wholeheartedly want to thank you for doing this, because Jim wasn't compensated. This was on his own, and I think it means a lot to everybody involved. Second thing, Tom, I know you and Kim are doing it. Claire, I would advise you to get an accountability partner. And it's not about egos, it's about helping each other. And I think you'll find that if you've got to answer to somebody and they answer to you in a helpful way, I think it will keep you on track. And the last thing is, I'd recommend you go back and watch these videos again and go through the workbooks again, because every time you look at it, you'll see something different. So anyways, thank you all for being here. And Jim, thank you again for doing this.
Yep, and if I can help all of you, I know I sent a video to all of you that was about 6 minutes long with my offer to do one-on-one accountability coaching with you. And of course, that's no charge to do that. I want to help you. And if I can, just reach out to me and I'll help you. All right. Okay, everybody. Thanks.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Mike, I'll see you in
Thank you.
office. All right,
All right,
take care.
Sherman.
Bye-bye.